welcome once again to another edition of our Government at Work program, a program brought to you by the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration and hosted by yours truly, Keith Scarborough. This program is broadcast live on VON Radio every Thursday evening from 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Then we broadcast on Nevis Television on Sunday evenings from 8:30 p.m. It's a program designed to inform and educate citizens and residents of Nevis, both at home and abroad, of the many positive developments that are taking place here on the island of Nevis. It's another wonderful Thursday evening here in Nevis, and it's a time when we all look forward to a night filled with information as it pertains to the continued good governance of the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration. I, for one, look forward each week to go deep into discussions with the ministers of government, the permanent secretaries, the advisors, the department heads, as well as top officials from the various statutory corporations to ensure that you are given as much information as possible. We also make every effort to keep the discussions as frank and as honest as possible so that you, the listeners and viewers to this program, could get a true reflection of what's happening here in the land that we all call home. We shall take a short break, and when I return, I shall introduce my guest for this evening program to you. So stay locked down to the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, 860 AM.
So right, St. Thomas is right, St. James is put together and build your land. Right, St. George's and St. Paul's together with St. John's. This land is enough for all to share. No reason to leave and go nowhere. Foreigners can come here from America and England. There is something mighty sweet about my land. And if the foreigners who live here can insist that it's here they're from, then I swear I'll never leave my native land. One people, one country.
Welcome back. Folks, I am pleased to have as my guest this evening the Honorable Spencer Brand, Minister with responsibility for disaster preparedness and infrastructural development et al. Honorable, good evening and welcome once again to our Government at Work program.
Good evening, King, and a very pleasant evening to our listeners and viewers to this program. It is indeed my pleasure to be here. I know that we've tried to arrange this session for a few weeks now, but I was a little under the weather, so I'm happy and thankful that I'm rebounding. Let me say good evening to all those persons who are listening, whether they are here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, those who are further afield. I know you have a wide listening audience down through the various islands, up north, all over the world really, where our Nevision folk are. They try to tune in to stay abreast as to what is really happening on the island of Nevis, and I am indeed delighted to be here with you tonight.
Well, we are indeed happy to have you, Honorable, especially since you were under the weather and still a little bit under the weather. I hope that you have recovered sufficient to be ready to continue the excellent work that you have been doing. Now, we have quite a bit to cover this evening, and I know my listeners and viewers are anxiously waiting to hear from you. So let's get straight into it. Honorable, we had the first hurricane of the season a few weeks ago, and we got some much needed rain from it.
Yes.
That was all. Thank God for that. However, we are approaching the peak of the hurricane season, which I am told is normally from the 10th to the 25th of September each year. And since you are the Minister with responsibility for disaster preparedness here on the island of Nevis, I thought it may be wise for us to start this evening's discussion looking at our preparedness. I know that you would have met with various stakeholders in preparation for the hurricane season, but I would like to give you the opportunity at this time to give our listeners and viewers an update as to where we are in relation to our disaster preparedness, readiness for whatever may come our way. Hopefully nothing at all, but you never know. So enlighten us firstly as to the readiness of our disaster preparedness unit here on the island of Nevis.
Well, yes, King. Hurricane, is a phenomenon that we face in these parts on an annual basis. The season commences on the 1st of June, and the peak actually is around the 10th of September, going down sometimes into early October. Right at the moment, we do have something that is turning up, and I'm hoping that it would stay, away from us. But I'm encouraging our people to be vigilant. I think that they ought to pay attention to, and I keep using this kind of language, reputable sources. I believe that while it is all well and good to be first, I would encourage our people to try and get reputable sources of information when it comes to our information as it relates to any hurricane that may come out. Yes, this and that, we would have held our stakeholders meeting on the 2nd of June. That is the Nevis Disaster Management Committee at our Emergency Operating Center, where we would have had folks from our subcommittees, our emergencies response agencies, NGOs, volunteers, and we would have looked at the state of preparedness as it regards to the hurricane season. We would have entertained reports from all of the various stakeholders, and I was very confident that the level of readiness and the level of preparedness was at a stage where if anything were to come our way, we would be able to respond in a favorable. I always say that let us over prepare rather than if there is an incident that we are under prepare. I hold that mantra that we need to be able to put as much emphasis ahead of time as to what we need to do. We would have also had some training in initial damage assessment. I think that took place on June 16th and 18th. We had the annual Prime Minister's hurricane simulation that was in July 16th and 18th. And we had our comprehensive relief and logistics training that was on the 25th to the 29th of August. So we continue to put the necessary training and preparedness in place, and the volunteers continue to exhibit a level of enthusiasm. And I've always said to them that if we have to activate our emergency response mechanism, then it means that Nevis would have been impacted. I always said to them, I hope that I wouldn't have to trigger that mechanism. I know, Prime Minister, I hope that, it's something that we often wrestle with in terms of what is coming our way, our level of preparedness. And sometimes while we call on our volunteers and our emergency response personnel, it is often in very difficult and turbulent times. And I often said to them that I'm hoping that from time to time during our hurricane season, while we prepared as much as we can, I hope that we will never have to call on them. But we are at a state of high level of preparedness. Just today I would have had some brief conversation with Mr. Dyer. And not today, yesterday actually, in our heads of department meeting, and he would have given us a heads up that there is something that may be coming our way, and we continue to be vigilant. I continue to encourage our people to prepare themselves the best way they can, and if they are not able to do so, there are the necessary agencies and mechanisms that are in place that would offer some assistance.
Great. By the way, are you able to source any additional equipment from any of our regional or international partners, or from any one of our good corporate citizens here in Nevis, for that matter, as to assist with the preparations for this year's hurricane season?
We got some equipment from, let me make sure I get all of the information correctly, because I want to make sure that we got some equipment, of course, from our global support and development partner. We got some UHF repeaters, some UHF radios, some emergency shelters, some satellite phones, some Starlink systems. We also received from CRID project, from TVs, tablets, computers. So we continue to receive quite a number of pieces of equipment. that will enhance our emergency response unit there at the Nevis Disaster Management, and will equip the volunteers, will equip our emergency response personnel in a much, much better way.
Okay, great. It's a good thing I asked you that question, because we were not aware that you received, so it's a good thing I asked you that question. Now, I had the director of the Disaster Preparedness Unit here in Nevis,
Yes.
Mr. Brian Dyer, a few months ago, and he mentioned at the time that due to the fact that the court was operating from the St. Paul's Anglican Church Hall, which is normally used as the hurricane shelter for the constituency of St. Paul's, that there was no hurricane shelter at the time for St. Paul's. But that was some time back. Have you been able to identify any building in St. Paul that could serve as a shelter for the St. Paul's areas since that time?
Yeah, we have looked at a number of structures in and around St. Paul's. The last one that we have kind of zeroing on is the Girls Guide headquarters. We are in the process of doing some additional renovation to that structure, some addition. Because in a hurricane shelter, you really have to have things like showers, male and female, and the separation and so on and so forth. The St. Paul's Church Hall, you're correct. When we actually conceptualize, and I say we because I was somewhat involved in it when I used to do a different kind of job. The idea was to create a facility that would serve this very purpose, emergency shelters, and that facility is equipped, of course, with showers and the various kitchen, wonderful kitchen. So we have earmarked the Girl Guides headquarters if needs be. This and that over the years, we would have used things like Grove Park, we would have used, I believe at one point we may have used CSS. And I think that it is of paramount importance that in the not too distant future that we can have that facility in St. Paul's that would serve as that multi-purpose unit for emergency and for other things. So, but as of now, we have somewhat earmarked the Girl Guides headquarters for that, if needs be.
Okay, great. Now, each year, a clarion call goes out for persons to volunteer their services in the event that our little island suffers any major hurricane damages. And you alluded to it a little earlier. What has been the response like for this year's hurricane season?
Well, the response continued to be overwhelming, this and that. We have a committed core group of persons. Whenever we have these training and whenever we have these sessions, whenever we activate the emergency command center, you have that core group of persons, come rain or shine, they are there, they participate in all of the various trainings or in most of the training. They make themselves available, and I really want to use this platform to express my sincere thanks to them. I think that they are some of the persons who I think are some of our unsung heroes. For example, in a natural disaster setting, they would man our emergency shelters. They provide the necessary care, and they ensure that persons are comfortable at a time when I believe that some of those persons are at their lowest point. And one of the things that I always said to them, King, while they try to look after others, please do not neglect their family. Because I think that for me is extremely important. Because I think while they put up their hand and say, I am willing to volunteer, remember that you have a responsibility as well and a duty to your family. I think oftentimes our emergency responders, our firefighters, our NGOs, sometimes they go above and beyond the call of duty. Sometimes they put in unprecedented hours, and their family are neglected. And I often said to them, please, 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 make sure that while you are doing this kind of service, that you at least put something in place. These are folks who may have elderly folks in their own homes, may have children, so I often say to them to try and make sure that they take care of those persons, they take care of their family, they take care of even their neighbors, while they focus their attention on this very important national duty at times. Because I think sometimes in the peak of our response to emergency, you tend to focus on those things that are in front of you, and so every time I sit with them, every time I meet with them, I always say to them, please, for goodness sake, make sure that when we make the necessary request of you, please, and if you need any assistance, to make sure that your folks are taken care of, or your elderly folks are taken care of, your children are taken care of, then we would ensure that that is put in place.
Okay, great. Now, what structural advice would you like to give to the citizens and residents of Nevis at this time with regards to their own preparations as we approach the heart of the hurricane season?
Well, information from credible sources. I keep stressing that all the time, that I want our people to, and I believe that by now I think that our people are aware of, the various reputable sources around that they can get credible information from. I also want them to make sure that they have their things like their emergency kits in place. There are folks who I know are on certain medication that they have to take for certain medical challenges. If it is that they would need to get extra quantity of those medications, I would suggest to them that they can try and do so ahead of time. I believe that we give an appropriate lead time that when our island would be affected. So if there is that need for additional medication, again, I want to encourage us to remember the elderly folks, those who are close to us, those in our family, those in our various communities. But for me, the important thing is that our people pay attention to credible sources of information. If it is that they feel that their own personal residence is not in a state, or not in a structurally sound to withstand what may be coming at us, I would hope that they can sound the alarm early. They can sound the alarm in a time where our emergency response team can get to them safely and return to the various emergency shelters safely, because at the peak of the storm, while the storm is really barreling down on us, no one will be able to move, right? So I'm hoping that they can use their best judgment and ensure that if they have that sense of feeling that, I live in this house, I am not certain if it can withstand, make that call, and we will try and make sure that we put them in a place that is at least much safer than where they think they are.
Great. Now, I want to focus your attention now on some of the good work that you would have done in your own constituency of St. Paul's. At the last town hall meeting put on by the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration, which was held at the Red Cross building in Charlestown, you were asked to name some of the things that you would have done as the area representative.
Yes.
And I saw a smile came to your face, which says, I have done a lot. You went on to list a number of things that you would have done, but I noticed there was no mention of the housing development that you would have spearheaded in Quadrico and Hamilton. And in my view, those are two major developments that any representative would be very proud of. So I want to give you the opportunity this evening to address those two major developments. You can start by telling us how many homes have been built, the type of homes that has been built, whether 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, etc.
Well, King, if you remember correctly at the town hall, I did say to the person who asked the question that I will stop there.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that.
Because I believe that I would have probably used up the entire town hall session.
Understood.
But King, I believe that we are sadly our politics and our politicking have become or at a stage now where there seems to be this continuous tendency to want to deceive people. There seems to be this extreme effort to try and convince persons of things that the person who is trying to convince you know wholeheartedly is not true. And sometimes it saddens me because I feel that it's oftentimes is a sense of distraction from having what I would call a real conversation. Now we are here at Vaughan Radio, a place that is touted for, as Weber would often say, honest debate. We have done, in my mind, and accomplished quite a significant amount of achievement in St. Paul's. Water, roads, housing, drainage, I mean, you name it. But you asked specifically about the two housing development in Quaddercourt and Hamilton. The housing development in Quaddercourt, I believe we had 21 homes. And from what I'm aware of is that the entire number of homes have been completed in terms of the sites have been utilized. There perhaps may just be one or two that is in the stage of completion. The type of homes, of course, you know, the Nevis Housing and Land Development, in my mind, do a remarkable job of providing concessionary housing for the people of Nevis. I use that word and I'm using it deliberately because if you were to take the same architectural plans that the Nevis Housing Corporation is constructing and the price that they are constructing it for, if you were to go in the open market, you would probably add on another $100,000 or another $120,000 on that. So Quaddercourt is, in terms of the construction of homes, is virtually completed. We have, of course, and we were waiting for the mass construction to be completed. We now have to go in and put in the road. And I've already been receiving the necessary WhatsApp messages and telephone calls. Mr. Brand, when you're going to come and deal with the road? So we know that we have that to do, and we didn't want to go and put in the road and then all of these heavy trucks and concrete crane and so on go in and mash up the road. So now that the houses are virtually completed, we can now get around to doing the road. In Hamilton, I believe we had 14 lots. From my last check, I believe 10 homes have been completed. I believe from time to time they would have made offers to persons who, for one reason or the other, may not have been able to accept those offers. So they may have to go on to the next person. So they have another 4 lots or 4 homes for 4 additional families in Hamilton. So that is where those 2 projects are, and I'm very proud of those 2 housing projects because when I became a member of the cabinet, the Nevis Island Administration did not really have any land available to them in Charlestown for housing. The various plots of land that they have had in Ramsbury, that was already built out. A small section there in Stony Grove, did one in Hamilton, but in the other areas of Charlestown there was virtually no land and it was extremely difficult, and the price was another issue. We were able to get those 2 areas at what I call at the time bargain price, and I think that if we were to try and purchase those same lands today, I think that we might be paying upwards of an additional 50-60% for. So I think at the time when we were able, and I believe that my colleagues would have worked with me. I want to thank them. I want to thank the former Minister of Land and Housing, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, for helping to ensure that these two housing development as well were brought online and continued, of course, by the new Minister of Housing, the Honorable Eric Evelyn. I think that the partnership have been good, and as a team, we continue to work together to ensure that we continue to build out the island of Nevis in the various constituencies. So I'm very proud of them. But like I said, King, at the town hall, I did say I was stopped, and it was not that I didn't remember them, but I felt that I needed to stop because we would have been there for quite a while.
Any plans to build more homes in those two areas or any other areas in Charlestown for that matter?
Well, you know, we have just, I think it was about another 2 acres of land came, you know, kind of came on the market earlier this year. And again, my colleagues were very receptive to the idea, and we have purchased it. I believe that we are almost completed in the payment for that land, and I believe very shortly we should be, you know, offering those lots for. From what I saw, I think it's about 11 lots, so we can have an additional 11 family right there in the Hamilton area. Mm-hmm. There are some other areas that are coming on stream, and you know, King, I due to our various financial challenges, and it's no secret that there is a little challenge with resources. We are hoping that perhaps in the future we can get some additional, because what we are seeing is that there are pockets of land that are popping up here and there, and persons are now willing to entertain having a conversation with the government. Like I said, we have just a few months ago got another piece. We have already done the subdivision. The surveyor have done the subdivision. I believe it's 11 lots, so that will come on the market, if not later this year, certainly early next year.
Okay. Let me ask you this. I know you're not the Minister of Housing.
Yes.
But what is the demand like for housing in Charleston itself, your constituency?
You say Charleston, but I say all over Nevis.
I know, but specifically...
It continues to be extremely high. You speak of Charleston specifically, it continues to be extremely high in Charleston. There is still a demand in St. John's, there is still a demand in St. James's, in St. Thomas's, in St. George's. I know that Minister Evelyn would have done a small housing development down Hickman's Hanley's Road area. That, from what I've been told, went like hot bread and butter. In St. John's, they are nearing completion for one that they did late last year into this year. That as well went like hot bread and butter. When both Hamilton and Quadacode went on the market, the folks at Nevis Housing and Land were literally going crazy. I mean, you had 21 and 14, that's what, 35?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that, I'm going to be conservative, I am sure that they had over 250 applications.
Well, sounds good. People are interested in housing all over the world, not only Nevis, but all over the world.
Yeah.
Now, Honorable, I want to focus your attention now on the all-important topic of water.
Yeah.
We would have heard of all the water problems that our brothers and sisters in St. Kitts are experiencing at this time, but here in Nevis, there are no such problems, thanks to the foresight and the vision of the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration, led by you, of course. I want to start with the desalination plant, which was constructed only a few months ago. Could you give us an update on that? How much gallons of water we are getting from that, and if possible, the areas that is being served?
Well, we have always said that it was a small plant. It is providing between 50,000 and 65,000 gallons. It is mostly operated by solar, so if we want to get the upper limit, then we would have to switch over to electricity. But it is within that quantity of 50,000 to 65,000 gallons per day. It is servicing the Butlers area, and I want to go back to what I said perhaps the last time I was here. We have had a situation with one of the wells in that area that went down, and the desal plant was able to pick up the slack. And the people of Nevis were not even aware that we had a well down in that area. There are a few wells on Nevis. If they go offline, the entire island would be affected. And I was pleasantly amazed that when it's a smaller well, yes, but when it went offline, you really did not feel the impact in the community. The desal plant was able to. So it shows that the concept has been working, although it is small, and the concept and the idea of the desal in that area allows us to make it in such a way that we can expand. The site has been chosen, so in the next few years or the next decade or whatever, the site is very much available for something even much larger. So the desal plant have been servicing and producing at the level that we have expected. I believe I saw some information just today where should have an official handover of the desal plant very shortly. I believe over the last few months, they were still making sure that everything was working fine, there was no issues and so on and so forth. So we have now passed that stage and we are ready to move on.
Okay, great. Now, I would have heard from many persons, including you, that it is very costly to operate a desalination plant. How is this one working out thus far in terms of the cost to the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration? Can you dance before the light?
Yes, it is very costly. Desalination is it's a beast when it comes on consumption of electricity. Mm-hmm. But this particular one is powered mostly by solar. Mm-hmm. So the consumption of energy from Nevis has been minimized. Mm-hmm. We only use that whenever there is a high demand, or if we wanted to run all night, overnight, then we switch it over to the electricity. But during the day, it's natural, God-given sunlight that is powering it, and that has been working out very fine.
Okay, great. Now, drilling for more water has always been a top priority for the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration.
Yes.
And when you were here the last time, you mentioned that a number of wells are scheduled to be dug. Some have already been dug since then. So enlighten us as to where we are with regards to that initiative. How many have been dug thus far and how many more are to be dug?
We have completed 2 in Madden's area. And they have been producing, I believe between both of them, we are talking over 500 plus gallons of water. We have the third one that we attempted to dug was in the descent area. And we had some mechanical issues, we had some cave-in, and we had to abandon that site. We then moved to braziers. Braziers are being completed, they just need to finish up the pump testing and so on and so forth. So you can theoretically say that we have completed 3. The original agreement was for 9. Once they are finished with braziers in the next, perhaps by the end of September, because presently the drillers are off island. They went back to Trinidad to try and get some additional casing, some additional equipment to go back to Desons to deal with Desons, because Desons are proven to be a real challenge for them. But based on the data, we will not abandon the Deson site, because the data is saying that Deson is a very high yielding well. And if we have to go at it 3 or 4 times, we will, because we are very confident that what we will get out of that site would be an extremely high yielding well. So once they are finished with braziers, like I said, in the next few weeks, we are hoping that they would go back to Desons and they would have to start all over again. I believe that they have a great amount of experience dealing with bridges with descent. So I believe that their approach and their tactic is going to be slightly different. But that would be 4, and then we have perhaps an additional 5 to dig. Have some in the Gingerland area, Jessop's, Cotton Ground area. We are looking at something in the Morgan Estate area. So once we are finished with those 4, then we will go to other places.
Okay, great. Now, in years gone by, we have had to put in place a schedule for water rationing, especially between the months of March and April. But I observed this year that they were hardly any rationing at all. How were you able to do that this time around?
Well, I think all the credit would go to the hard-working staff. I basically say what I want. Listen, it has been easy. I believe that all of us who have lived in Nevis long enough would know that we are coming out of a period where we had to head water on mornings before we go to school. It was something that was a part of us, and I believe that all right-thinking divisions would agree that we have come a mighty long way in water, the availability of water. I believe that both governments, despite our at times difference in philosophy, have recognized that water security and availability of water is absolutely important for the island of Nevis. We continue to ensure that we improve on our storage, on our distribution, and certainly on the availability of water. We can only eliminate water rationing if we continue to improve on our storage, if we continue to improve on the availability of water, which is additional wells and even into desal. And of course, if we continue to build a lot of redundancy in the system as it regards to the distribution of water and the mechanism that we have put in place to move water all over Nevis at any time. So those are some of the things that we have done over the years. Like I said, my predecessor and would have played his part, and I think I am not afraid to say that even the previous government would have also contributed to ensuring that the expansion of our water infrastructure is something that I think that we all can continue to build on. So it has been an all hands approach effort. I think that if we are serious about seeing the development of Nevis, there are a number of things that really must be, in my mind, non-political: water security, energy security, food security, and of course our human security. We should be able to live peaceably in our communities and in our businesses and so on without any fear. So I think that all of those are things that we as government, opposition, right-thinking people would stand shoulder to shoulder in ensuring that we continue to develop.
Great. Now, water storage and water catchment plays an important role in securing water for the island and people of Nevis, as you rightly said earlier. So I am thinking that there must be plans for some additional storage and additional catchment to be developed. Talk to us a little about plans going forward.
We are looking at a number of additional storage tanks. We have the Morningstar site where we are hoping, and we have had some additional recent discussion on that particular site, where we were contemplating putting a 400,000 gallon tank. We also have the Morgan Estate site, where we actually have ordered a 500,000 gallon tank for the Morgan Estate site. The public would recall that we have a 250,000 gallon tank there at Morgan Estate, and we are seeking to expand that storage capacity perhaps up to as much as 1 million gallon. One of the reasons is, of course, we know that we are seriously moving ahead with the geothermal project, and the geothermal project would require a significant portion of quantum of water. So we are trying to ensure that we put those mechanisms in place that will not only provide for that project, but would also build a lot of additional redundancy into the system for the public. So we are in the process, like I said, of erecting that tank. We have the Morningstar site we are looking at, and we also have the Morgan Estate site that we are hoping to at least put an additional 500,000 gallon. So we have some at least a few additional tanks in the pipeline within the next 6 months, 6 to 8 months. Timeline to add some additional storage to the island of Nevis.
Okay, great. Now, Nevis is developing rapidly and the demand for water is getting greater and greater. Let me ask you this. What is our water levels are like as we speak?
Well, I think in terms of our actual levels, our tanks are up at some are at over 55, 65%. There are some that is up to 80%. Because right now, as I alluded earlier, we have something developing, in the coming at us, and our aim is to make sure that our tanks are at a level that can withstand and sustain any force of wind. So we are trying our very best to make sure that they are at that safe level. One of the good things that have been happening with us as well is that we continue to get these intermittent rainfall. So the stress on the system have also been reduced somewhat because of the rainfall. When you have these additional rainfall, persons don't water their lawns as much, persons may not wash their vehicles as much, those kind of things. Those persons who are in the agriculture sector may not turn on their hose as much and their drip system as much. So the rainfall helps in terms of reduction in the consumption, and also it allows us to ensure that we are able to build up our storage capacity when we do not have as much consumption.
Okay, how much gallons of water would you say the entire island uses on any given day?
It ranges fluctuates between 1.2 on the lower end all the way up to 1.7, 1.8, million gallons per day.
Would you say we are comfortable meeting that target, or we're not there yet?
I would say we are holding our own. We are holding our own. We can never have too much water, and I want to use this opportunity to encourage our Nevisian folk to, as much as possible, to conserve as much water as they can. When they're brushing their teeth, turn off the tap. If you have a leaky toilet, try and get it fixed as quickly as possible. Instead of using a hose to wash your vehicle, get a bucket. Those are little things that can help us to conserve quite a lot of water. If you have a leak, try and see if you can get your leak fixed as quickly as possible. Those are things I feel that can help us, that can go a long way in ensuring that we can continue to have a sustainable supply of water for the island.
Okay, great. Folks, you're listening to Government at Work. My guest this evening is the Honorable Spencer Brand. We shall take a short break, and when we return, we shall continue with our discussions here on Government at Work.
So right, St. Thomas is right, St. James is put together and build your land. Right, St. George's and St. Paul's together with St. John's. This land is enough for all to share. No reason to leave and go nowhere. Foreigners can come here from America and England. There is something mighty sweet about my land. And if the foreigners who live here can insist that it's here they're from, then I swear I'll never leave my native land.
Honorable, I want to speak to you now about the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration Road Development Program, which is spearheaded once again by you as the Minister responsible for infrastructural development. This is the one area that all Nevisians, including the opposition here in Nevis, has admitted that the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration has delivered. It has been nothing short of remarkable what has been done so far to our road network here in Nevis since 2013. It is fast becoming the envy of the region. The three last pieces of road that your ministry recently undertook, namely the Pinners Road, the road next to Fanny's, and of course the Bon Pasha Road, which by the way has brought much joy and relief to the good people living in that area. Tell us what was involved in the thought process behind the upgrades to those three particular pieces of road.
Well, I will start with the Pinners area. They're from just after you pass the Malcolm Gishal Recreational Park around the corner all the way down to what was the old Jehovah Witness, Kingdom Hall of Jehovah Witness area. We were having quite a number of issues in that area as it regards to the actual deterioration of the surface of the road. We have also almost witnessed at times where it was an area where people were, for some reason, tend to be veering up and down the place, and it was almost an area where something catastrophic were about to happen. And we are aware that we have the various equipment, milling machine rollers and so on. So we decided to go in and have that remedied. I think that the team would have done a remarkable job in that upgrade. I always teased them and I said to them that this was just a test, because I know that we have other roads in Nevis that are perhaps in similar condition, perhaps even in worse condition. For example, the Long Point Road is in terrible condition. That would take, of course, some significant resources to get it completed. It's a road that is heavily used. It is a road that is the gateway to virtually all of our imports into the island. So that is something that we are keeping an eye on. The Pinners, we would have ensured that we did some widening, ensuring that we improve the curvature of the road as well in terms of the free flow of traffic. On the left hand side going around the corner there by TDC, we would have improved on that. We would have upgraded the pull off there by the bus stop. There is a bus stop directly opposite the craft house. We also did some upgrade with the drainage in front of the craft house. So it was a multifaceted project. We removed one of the head walls that was extremely close to the edge of the road, and if persons were not paying attention, they could easily run into the head wall and cause serious accidents. So we would have shifted those a bit, improving the safety again. The whole idea was to try and improve the safety. If you notice, coming around the corner there by TDC, down by the Kingdom Hall, the old Kingdom Hall of Jehovah Witness, we would have created what I call some wider pull-off area, in terms of we are hoping that we would allow some grass to grow, and all of that was to try and improve the safety in that area, because we were getting the sense that the deterioration and that something terrible was going to happen, and we are trying as much as possible to try and avoid anything that we can mitigate against from happening. I want to use this opportunity to appeal to the motoring public to also drive with jockey and attention. I drove on it a couple days ago, and I had to really check myself, because I realized that my speedometer was going up. I said, am I really driving that fast? So while the area has been improved, I am encouraging our people to try and drive We have one of a popular calypso for this year. Drive safely, no speeding on the road message, and I believe Von Wade plays it almost every morning as an anthem to try and encourage our people to not do any unnecessary speeding on the road. There is no place in Nevis that you can't get in 15 minutes. You spoke about as well the area there in front of Fanny. We have been battling a concern in that area for some time. The drain between on the other side of Fanny down to Lost Street that have been compromised. You've had some large trees there that literally the roots have destroyed the drain. It was at a state where no water, absolutely no water, was getting down into the Low Street side that goes empty into the sea. And we took a decision that we needed to remedy that situation. We completed the drain and we upgraded the drainage under the road. We also improved the drainage flow from in the area of the old Paramount Cinema coming back to Fanny. And we also upgrade the drains themselves from the bottom of Craddock Road coming back to the drainage that go down the street. So it was an upgrade that I felt improved significantly the drainage. It was more of a drainage project, and that is something that I keep saying that we are going to be doing this year and into next year. We are going to try and improve as much of these drainage as we possibly can. So that was what that particular project was about, improving the drainage, also improving I think we did a little widening, so to speak. It may not look as though it has been widened, but we did a little widening after you pass the Paramount Cinema up to Fanny area. It's minute, but we realized that it has already created a sense where the area is even much wider than it actually is. You spoke about the Brown Pasture Morgan Estate Road. We have completed phase 1 of that road. We are in the process of constructing a culvert, and once that is done, then we will continue with the other phase to have that road completed. I am hoping, and I've said to the team, that I would really like to see that road completed before this year finish. We are in September. We are expecting during the months of September and perhaps into October some rain that can prevent us from doing as much as we like. But I've already said to the team that I really don't want to go into 2025 still doing that piece of road. So that is what we have done over the last few months in terms of upgrades, improving in drainage, and the road in the Brown Pasture area is something that has been long in coming. When the tank at Morgan Estate was erected, they would have done some improvement in the pipe work. But the road was never completed, and over time, the water drainage would have significantly and severely affected the road. And I think if it's one area that we really needed to go in and have done was that particular one. And I'm happy that we are. I want to say thanks to the to the folks in the area. I think that they have been very patient. We have gotten quite a number of requests and complaints, and I almost want to believe that we actually got a petition on that. But just because it was in terrible state. It was really terrible. But I'm really happy that we are able to bring some relief to those people.
Okay. Now, as a result of those 3 lovely pieces of road resurfacing and fixed up, the question is now being asked: which roads are up next for resurfacing or to receive further upgrades for the remainder of 2025?
We want to do 2 pieces in the St. Thomas's area. We have actually, there is one above the Jessup's Community Center. We have to go in and erect a retaining wall, and then to the area above the community center, coming around and come back around to the main village road. So that is one that we want to get on immediately. We also are looking at one in the Banscott area. above the Barnscott Community Center. It's a village ring road, so we want to also get that done during the course of this year. We have been looking at the road in the University Heights development. We have had that request from our friends from the Nevis Housing and Land. We have done some initial costing. We are hoping that we can partner with Nevis Housing and Land to get that particular, because we have some very lovely homes in that area. The road, it's difficult for them to get in. That's an area that I'm hoping that we can at least give some attention to later this year, early next year, and get it completed. There are some roads, of course, in the Ramsbury area which I'm hoping that we can get to in the not too distant future and get completed. And as I said earlier before, that we are looking at the housing development in Quadaquad. So, and we have the Taylor's Pasture Road in Gingerland that we are hoping that we can get in the water department to go in and change out all of those pipes and so on. We are hoping that we can get that pipe work done before the year finish, and then we can get on to do. So King, throughout Nevis, you can go through every village. It's a high demand commodity. You know that ever so often Toyota come out with a new RAV4 model. Hyundai, new model, Nissan, all of these vehicles are ended up in Nevis. And our people are purchasing these vehicles, and they want to drive on good roads and wonderful roads to their various homes. We have people who are now building homes in every single areas of Nevis. It's not only in some areas, it's all over Nevis. Homes are being built. Sometimes when I drive and go and look at some of the work that we have to, I say, really? There's a house in this area? There's 10 homes in this area? And you realize that, for persons to get to them, sometimes it's a bit frustrating, King, but it's what we have to work with. We know that there is that demand in every single village, in every single parish, in every single constituency. And I believe that our people, based on what it is that they are looking for in terms of new vehicles, building new homes, want to be able to, and we continue to see as well, King, that throughout Nevis, businesses are popping up in some very remote places. It is not only in the capital of Charlestown or in the commercial areas where you are now having businesses. You are now having business in some of those remote areas. And for these businesses to really thrive and survive, they need to be accessible. People are also making that demand that, listen, I have a business in this area. Can the government help us to make sure that our business is sustainable? And if people know that those businesses are accessible, then I think that we would play our part in ensuring that their business can survive. The various businesses can have the level of activity that they're expecting, and it's a win-win situation for everyone.
True. Now, Honorable, you and I have spoken about the development of the lands in the south on many occasions. We both agree that if we could get that area developed, Nevis could become the Dubai of the Caribbean. We are hearing of the possible development taking place in that area in the not too distant future. If what we are hearing becomes a reality, how do you see that impacting the infrastructural development of Nevis? And what impact would that have on the Ministry of Infrastructure itself? Because we're talking about a large-scale operation.
I remember making my budget presentation in Parliament some years ago, when we spoke about that road.
Yes.
I remember saying that with the advent or inclusion of that road, that part of the island can become the little Dubai of the Caribbean.
Right.
Little did I know that in a very short period of time, I don't know if someone in some distant land may have heard me, but we are now hearing of this very impressive project that is proposed, that is being talked about in that area. The Little Dubai concept I often smile about it, because from what's being talked about and what is being on offering could very well become a reality. Now, you ask a direct question as to what impact it will have on our infrastructure. Now, we had proposed to construct that road from Long Point all the way down to Indian Castle, going along the South Coast Road. Actually, we already have the RFP. We have prepared the RFP, but we held it back because we have been hearing this thing, and we basically put a hold on it. We did not send it out to get any quotation or anything. The impact, King, and quite interestingly, there has been a lot of talk about the special sustainability zone legislation. But in that special sustainability legislation, there are some guardrails when it comes to the impact on our infrastructure. It speaks about that anyone who will be proposing any such sustainability zone must be able to provide water and energy. Now, you and I spoke about water earlier.
Yes.
And from time to time, the challenges that we do have with water.
Yeah.
Energy is slightly different. Energy, we are aggressively pursuing geothermal, and we are hoping that it would come to fruition in the not too distant future. But it was, and the drafters of the legislation recognize that both St. Kitts and Nevis from time to time do have challenge with water. And if you are going to be bringing onshore such a development, you must be able to put in some guardrail and some protection when it comes to especially water and energy. That is in, and it would mean that these developers would have to prove as one of the preconditions that you must be sustainable in water. And that, for me, was important and critical, right? From time to time, I know we have the 4 seasons, and the demands at times from 4 seasons, sometimes it can prove to be a bit challenging, but we have been able to do what we needed to do to ensure. And I am not too worried about the impact when it comes to water and energy, because the bonus is on them to make sure that they must be in a position, however they're going to do it, that's a matter for them. They have this side, they have the ocean right there, the area, they can do their various exploration possibly, but they have to be able to prove to us that they have enough water for the capacity so that I feel has given me a level of comfort in terms of what it is that we are trying to do here on the island of Nevis.
In terms of that project, I am seeing a whole lot of positives coming out of that project, and it couldn't come fast enough for me. But there are those who are seeing pure negatives. What's your take on that?
Sometimes I feel it's unfortunate that we continue to see, in the name of politics, the kind of negativity that are often leveled. I want to draw the comparison to 4 seasons. We had some similar chatter around when 4 seasons came. I was a youngster then, perhaps maybe not paying as close attention as now. But I don't believe that there is any division who can say that Four Seasons have not had a significant impact on the island of Nevis across all spectrum. Because of Four Seasons, we have seen persons are able to, one, stay on the island and earn a living. Before Four Seasons, we used to have a lot of people going to different islands, St. Martin, BVI, USVI, England, all over the place. Yes, there are some who still chose to go other places, but at least with the adventure of Four Seasons, it allows persons to have an opportunity to gain a different level of employment and a different area of employment. I always remember this guy, Curtis Smith from Quadacode.
Mm-hmm.
Started at
Remember?
That was him. Probably you were there with him.
Of course I was there.
Where is Curtis now?
Somewhere in the Middle East being a big chef.
And I think that our people need to appreciate that the opportunities that is staring us in our face, it needs to be protected, it needs to be guarded. Now, my thought on it is that I think that it can have a significant positive impact on the island of Nevis.
Mm-hmm.
In a number of areas. I feel that it can significantly expand our employment base and our employment opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that it can significantly create an even greater demand in our agriculture sector.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking seriously about geothermal. I think that once geothermal comes online, that development would make the geothermal development even more viable, because you now have an increased offtake of that geothermal energy. The fishermen would now have a much more expansive market for fish and fish products and all kinds of things. And our young people can have greater opportunity in areas like IT, other areas of business.
Mm-hmm.
I think about IT specifically because based on what is being proposed, this is almost like a smart city.
Mm-hmm.
And these young people now with these whiz gadgets and so on,
Oh yeah.
they are going to be in high demand.
Yep.
And I'm saying to our people, do not allow anybody to fool them and mislead them. Prepare yourself and position yourself.
Exactly.
So when this thing comes, you must be first, second, and third in line. And make sure that you position yourself to earn a good standard of living in the land of your birth.
I agree. Let me ask you this, Honorable. You and I see all of the positives, and I am fully convinced that those who are against see the same positives. Question I have to ask you then, why are they so opposed to it? I know the answer, but I want to hear you talk.
Before I answer that, I'm going to add one more positive, and which I think maybe perhaps it may not be the most important one, but I will add it. I feel that the revenue that can be generated from this development would have, in my mind, a significant impact on education, on healthcare, on infrastructure development, on expansion in our tourism infrastructure. I know my good friend, Minister of Education, keep talking about this community college. And I hope that is something that, in my mind, the possibilities are vast. I don't necessarily want to say endless, but the opportunity and the possibilities, King. We keep talking about trying to build a country. We keep talking about trying to expand in these areas. And I think that as an island, we have, in my mind, an opportunity to do all of that and more. And it's being criticized. You ask why? There are some people, for some reason, are afraid to endorse, perhaps, and accept anything good if it does not come from them.
True.
That is how I put it.
That is the bottom line, actually.
It's unfortunate, because I think that if we lose this opportunity, we may not get it back, perhaps for another generation.
Well, we can't afford to lose this opportunity, at least not by the critics. It has to be by other beings, not definitely by the critics. But like I said to you, I'm seeing positives all the way.
There's a lot of positive,
right.
And I think that it would also, in my mind, help to improve, of course, the standard of living. Four Seasons came, and Four Seasons had that wide spectrum of impact all across the island in terms of the improvement in many areas, and I'm seeing similar benefits from this as well.
Honorable, I suspect that if the same group of people were around when Four Seasons was trying to come, they would have been demonstrating the same way. Because
you think so?
They would have, because even though it came under them, and they're boasting of it, if he had to come today, we would have had the same objections, because, like you said, the bottom line is, if it's not done by them, they don't want it to come.
Do you know what our country's motto is? Well, you know.
I know what it is. And they know what it is, but they don't practice it unless they are in charge.
Well, it's unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate. And I want to remind you, Honorable, that when the Premier alluded to this a couple of nights ago, when the word got out that there will be some upgrades to the Vance W. Armory Airport, they went in the demonstration. Same people. Do you remember when Four Seasons was protecting their lands by throwing some rocks on the western? They went down the beach and protest.
I remember the protests as well.
And I could go on and on with the protests from these people about the further development and the protection of jobs here in Nevis, and you get the same reaction. But what I am looking for, Honorable, and I'll give you the chance to deal with it, I am looking for, because maybe they don't know that this is coming, I am looking for the time when we start to speak of the positives, when we start to sell the project of what it entails and the benefits to the island people of Nevis. That is something that I am looking forward to, and I know when the time comes, it will be done. I would like to hear the opposition.
Yes, I think in time that will come.
Yes.
But I would hope, King, that we boast of 99% literacy rate here in the Federation. And I want to encourage our people as far as possible to pick sense out of nonsense. Because I feel that we have developed a culture here, not only in Nevis, in St. Kitts, and in some of these other small island developing states, that once you're in opposition, you must oppose everything that the government does.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that it's a strategy that is doomed for failure.
It is.
Because I have this fear that any serious opposition, because that they feel that they are in opposition, that they must always oppose. But I feel that any real opposition, at some point they must be able to stand with the development of the country. You are purporting and proposing and agitating to get into government.
Exactly.
But at the same time, every single thing that the government does, you oppose. And you oppose by spreading, in my mind, things that for some reason just seems to be anti-development of the island of Nevis.
That's a nice way of putting it.
I feel, King, that we have seen quite a number of opportunities that have come through the island of Nevis and through the Federation by extension. I think it's a Nevis. And the coastening of the opposition towards some of these developments. We, on a Premier has his press conference every month, and he keep promoting and speaking to the world that we are open for business.
Yes.
And he keep trying to encourage our people to help develop their country. We have, and he has a wide and expansive platform that he makes that appeal on. And when someone decides that, you know, this might be a place where I need to take a look at and come up with your concept and you know, make your case. And but then on the flip side of that, when you start to get down to the nitty-gritties and so on, and then a serious developer or investor may ask, but isn't the leader of the country said that they want development, but I'm coming with a development and this is what I'm getting? Somebody might say, I don't necessarily need this hassle and I don't need this stress in their life, so they take up and they go.
That's exactly what happened with the Ritz-Carlton, what happened with Newfound, what happened with Candy Resort. It was the same reaction where you get this negative vibes from the other side that frustrate the process and the person's moved on.
The Ritz-Carlton wasn't built in one of those islands?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, but he was coming here.
I know.
Everything was here. And, you know, well,
but
we speak to that another time.
I think that I think that the merits of the argument ought to be such that you can question, well, what is in it for the people of Nevis? What are the benefits? What are the downsides of it? We can perhaps have that kind of conversation instead of the constant negativity, the constant bashing and
I call it lies and propaganda.
Well,
Californians, I'll bring it a little more direct. But Honorable, this proposal will be discussed for a long time.
Yes.
And in a more positive light, like you said, you know, you could have your objections and you ask your questions, because I'm sure you and I will have some questions that we would like to ask. Well,
yes.
Well, make sure this is in place, make sure that's in place, what happened to this, what happened to that. The questions, you know, to see the thing going, but this falsehood that is being spread deliberately is not nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, I want to move from that, Honorable, because we spoke of roads earlier, and we can't be speaking of roads and don't speak about the workers at the Public Works Department who have done such a marvelous job in revolutionizing our roads here in Nevis. The ability now to use the road equipment purchased by the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration to its fullest extent must be highly commended. I remember, Honorable, when those equipment were first bought, the workers had to get training, and according to one politician, practice. Well, they have practiced, they have learned, and now they have mastered the art of building and resurfacing our roads. How important is that to the overall road development program of the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration?
Well, you spoke about a statement, and I thought that a statement was said in a kind of negative tenor. Really, it left a kind of very bad taste in the folks there at Public Works. I know some of them still speak about it, but my goal has always been to try and empower our workers there, and in every department that I'm responsible for. My philosophy is that I need to be able to leave these various departments better than how I met them. We spoke about water earlier. My philosophy is that whenever I decide to move on, I would hope that I would have left things like water and our public works and our road program and those areas in a much better situation that I met them. We continue to offer them training. Just late last year, we would have sent off two to the US to have some training at an institute in the United States to deal with asphalt. The idea is, and the thinking is, that we continue to improve their skill and upgrade their craft. We just finished the road there at Pinnes. We did the marking. We are using a marking machine that is, I think they bought that long even before I got into government. It's tired, it's old. We have placed an order for one, but because of a lot of these supply chain issues, it's taking a bit of time to get to Nevis. So we are hoping that we can have it on the island very shortly. They have done a remarkable job with marking the road with a very old piece of equipment.
Yes.
When that other piece of equipment comes, same guys, highly trained, highly skilled, you will obviously see the difference. Now, you can't expect, King, that you expect a computer that you bought in 1995 to be functioning at optimum in 2025.
True.
Those computers were built with maybe 16 gigs. You are now hearing computers with 1 terabyte of memory and those kind of things.
Yeah.
As time go on, you have to improve your equipment.
Right.
And I was able to make the case and the argument to my cabinet colleagues that we needed these pieces of equipment. These pieces of equipment have gone over to our sister islands, to our sister island, to assist them.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows that I'm gonna say it shows that this government that was accused of being bad spenders continue to improve with our equipment, our training, improve with our equipment and training to the level where we are able to go across the waters and assist.
Point.
Right? I have no doubt in my mind that the team at Public Works is highly skilled, highly capable, can take on the task. I often think that the challenge we have at Public Works, we try to do something in Gingerland and we do something in, I think that's sometimes they are stretched, right? But if they zero in on a particular task and a project, they can get it done and get it done at a high level of efficiency, and the quality can be exceptional. I can tell you, I drove down and I said, but wait, I am
Going too fast.
the team have been exposed. I think we're running out of time. The team have been exposed to high quality pieces of equipment. They have mastered those equipment. These guys, you can, whatever you ask them to do with those equipment, I am not going to lose any sleep because I know they are capable and they can get it done.
True. Sound good. Let me ask you one final question before we run out of time. You mentioned some time ago that there was one more piece of road equipment that you would like to purchase or have donated to the NIA, and that is a sweeper. Is that still on the cards?
I still haven't got I still haven't gotten it yet. But I think that we are managing with what we have at the time. It would be a good addition to what we have. We have some additional equipment that is catching up in age, some maintenance and some repairs and so on and so forth. But I think that we are in a reasonably good place in terms of equipment. I think that the team continue to take very good care of them because I let them know up front that these equipment came at a significant cost of taxpayers' money, and they need to give us 20 and 30 years out of them.
Okay. Honorable, I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us this evening. As usual, we have run out of time. We still have lots more questions for you, but I want to thank you very much. Your final words for our listening and viewing audience.
King, I want to thank you for the invitation. I believe that we have had a good conversation tonight. I want to thank the listeners for allowing us, and for giving us their listening ear, to allow us into their homes and onto their jobs and so on and so forth, to hear what we have to say. I want to say to all people that we are in the hurricane season, something that is brewing, so please pay attention and please to try and get the necessary information that you would need to protect yourselves, protect your family, protect your loved ones, protect your neighborhood, and of course, wherever you can, lend a helping hand to those who may be a bit less fortunate, and help along your neighbor as you try to weather whatever storms may come to us. King, thanks much, and it was indeed my pleasure to be here with you tonight.
It was a pleasure as well to have you as our guest this evening. Folks, we have come to the end of another edition of our Government at Work program. Join us again next week when we shall do it all over again. Do enjoy the rest of the evening's programming. Then have a pleasant night's rest. Good night.